Hi, NARC troopers, and welcome. It's good to see you again. Hope you're being a trooper and, making the progress that you need to make. It is 2:15 a.m. and I'm wide awake. Yeah. I'm a teacher, and I have a class in the morning. I get up at 7:30, start my day. So if I get to sleep by 2:30, on average, that's 5 hours of sleep a night. I think that it's quite possibly the worst thing that's happening to me following being discarded by my narcissistic, sociopathic husband of 15 years. I think okay, so what I'm going to talk to you tonight about is PTSD or C-PTSD, which is very common in people who have survived, if you call this surviving, narcissistic abuse or psychopathic or sociopathic abuse. We're talking about cluster B personality disorders, right? When you're like tangled up with one of those guys, it is easy to find yourself having a hard time to do a lot of things. So I'm going to tell you what the symptoms are so you can kind of check yourself and say, hey, do I have that? Is that something that I have too that I might need treatment for? And then I'm going to kind of show you a couple of things that I'm doing to relieve it, because it's 2:15 in the morning on a school night. I should have been asleep 4 or 5 hours ago, at least, right? If I weren't in trauma, having a trauma response and all of that kind of stuff. So people who are in relationships with these disordered people, the narcissist, the psychopath, the sociopath, the person with antisocial personality disorder, those people, the ones with no empathy, no guilt, no conscience, no sense of morality, no true self, no human at their core, no capability of loving or having intimacy. Those guys, the ones that wear the mask and they mimic you and mirror you and parrot you so that you think that they're like everything you ever dreamed of, but really they're just echoing you. They're mirroring you. And so you're really just in love with yourself because they're looking at you and then reflecting it back to you, and it's not them because there is no them. They have no identity. They're chameleons. There are 3 reasons that they hook up with you. One of them is to get fuel or supply, which comes in the form of adoration, affection, attention. Oh, you're the greatest. Oh my gosh, you're just whatever, ooey gooey stuff, yucky, mushy love stuff. They need to have that constant attention, adoration, affection. That's a lot of A words. There's more. But it's getting late, so I don't know them right now. Your brain gets weird in the middle of the night when everybody else is sleeping. And you're like, why am I not sleeping? What is wrong with me? Well, you're recovering from some pretty messed up stuff. So fuel and supply is one reason they're with you. The second reason is character traits, personality traits. They absorb yours and become you. I'm pretty awesome. So of course I was in love with myself for 16 years because I'm pretty awesome, pretty lovable. Yeah, I am. It's odd that I'm so lovable and nobody's ever really loved me. Maybe my children, but it's even hard for them, like whatever. Anyway, I want to focus on the important stuff. And the important stuff is this. When you're going through this, they're going to be here for those 3. Oh, the third reason. Let me tell you that real quick. So supply and fuel, character traits or personality traits. And the third reason that they find you, target you, hook up with you, and then victimize you. The third one is residual benefits, like they're getting something out of it. Money, a connection, characteristics that they want, that they value, sex, networking, a house, like stuff like that. That's what we're talking about. So fuel and supply, character traits and personality traits, and residual benefits, like all that extra little perks and bonuses that keep them around. So that's why they're there. Why are you there? You're there probably because you're trauma bonded, because you've been experiencing intermittent reinforcement like torture with good stuff, bad stuff, bliss and happiness and ecstasy, horror and betrayal and grief and pain and suffering, and bliss and badness and happy and horrible, and it goes back and forth like that, right? And so it messes with your brain. You get addicted to the chemicals that come when the good stuff comes along. You know, when it's time for the good stuff, it's so good because it's been so bad that your brain gets addicted to that, just like heroin, and it actually changes the actual makeup, composition, and functioning of your brain itself. So you have brain damage. Yeah. Bad stuff. So when you leave this relationship, actually, I never could leave. He could have killed me, which I'm sure he contemplated probably there at the end. I think they believe their own bullshit. And so, the first part of the relationship, and ours was a really long one, right? My marriage to this person. But, the first part of the relationship, they believe they're in love. They're so infatuated. They idealize you. It's called the golden period. And they think that they're in love, but they're not. They don't know what that is. It's something else. You're just making them feel really good, and they mistake that for love, that's not what love is. So yeah, that's something to think about. So you have probably some kind of trauma response to what's happened to you, because it is a humdinger. Yes. Everything is not tickety-boo. That's what the British say. It's not tickety-boo. Everything's not tickety-boo with someone who's a narcissist or a sociopath or a psychopath. Am I butchering that horribly? I'm so sorry to all of you British folks who, I just adore that. I always wanted to be a Spice Girl. If I had been a Spice Girl, I would have been Old Spice, because, clearly I'm old. But yeah, they're so cool, and I like the way they talk. I don't want to sound like a Texan, and I am from Texas, but I don't want to sound like that. I don't like it. Nope. Okay, so anyway, so you've been with this person. Everything is all wonky. You're addicted, trauma bonded. You stay. All this messing with your brain happens, and then you're out of it. So let's get to the good stuff. When you have PTSD, first of all, insomnia or lack of ability to go to sleep at all. Like, when it's time to go to bed, you can't. And sometimes when you go to sleep, you can't stay asleep. Number 2, panic attacks, anxiety, which are not the same thing. Panic attacks, in the beginning, in those first 6 months, I would wake up from being sound asleep, which didn't happen that much, but when it did, I would wake up, heart was pounding on the bed, like it was going to town. It was like, bam, bam, bam. I'm having a heart attack. I'm dying. That's what it felt like. You feel like somebody's choking you and you're gasping for breath, like, you can't get your breath at all. You're gasping and gulping and doing all this kind of thing in the heart, and you're terrified, and that's a panic attack. Sometimes you're lightheaded, sometimes you're nauseous, sometimes you can't walk, sometimes you can't think. It's a panic attack. So, and there's panic disorder, and there's acute panic disorder, which was my diagnosis. It's pretty acute. Not cute, but acute. Like, very much so. Anxiety is like a heavy blanket, comes and lays on you, and it's oppressive, and you feel fearful and doubtful and hopeless and filled with despair and anguish, and it's and you're like your pulse races and your heart beats fast, and you feel like you have an elephant sitting on your chest. I think they describe heart attacks that way. I think so. I don't know. Anyway, it's what it feels like. It feels like that to have anxiety. So it can stay with you sometimes for a whole day or a couple of days or a couple of weeks or months. But typically it'll come and go. And for me, at this point, I'm 20 months out since he brutally, callously, savagely killed me, essentially, and then erased me. Like I never existed. It's kind of like being murdered and burning the body, cremating the body, and then throwing it out to sea. It's like, where'd she go? I don't see her anywhere. Oh, well, time to move on. So when he did that, that launched me into this whole recovery thing. So the panic attacks, the anxiety, the insomnia and stuff. How about this? Triggers. If you have PTSD, there are things that trigger you. I can't listen to certain music. In fact, for the first, I'm going to say for the better part of a year, because it's been 20 months now, for the better part of a year, I couldn't listen to music at all. None of it. Nothing. Even the stuff that I liked that he didn't, I couldn't hear it. Anything, no kind of music. I just listened. I survived. I subsisted completely on podcasts, news, stuff like that. Podcast and news saved my life. NPR and various podcasts saved my life during that whole year because I couldn't listen to anything else. I couldn't watch any TV shows. I couldn't go to restaurants where we went. I couldn't go shopping where we were. I didn't want to, I sold the house that we lived in because I couldn't bear to be there. It was torture. Torture, because everywhere, around every corner, is he there? Is he coming out of the bathroom? Is he going to walk around the corner and come out of the garage? Oh yeah, he's gone to crazy town, and he's somebody else now. He's with someone else. He is someone else. He's adopting all of her characteristics and traits. Remember those 3 things I told you? The fuel, the traits, and the benefits. He's somebody else. He may even have stopped being a vegetarian, and he may be eating meat now. I don't know. It's possible, When he left everything. His clothes, his artwork, his camping equipment, his everything, all of his Magic the Gathering cards. Yeah, that was a thing. I should have known then, right? Is that a red flag if they play Magic the Gathering? Anyway, yeah, he left it all because he knew he was going to just burn this life to the freaking ground. Burn it to the ground and start over fresh with someone new that was fresh, and a new life and a new identity with someone else. He knew that. And so he just left it all of it. Anyway, so back to the symptoms. So we have anxiety, panic disorder, panic attacks, not able to sleep, and triggers. So another one, in addition to that, is intrusive thoughts, ruminations, having your brain get hijacked where you start looping. And that looping means you could just be doing something random like making coffee, and all of a sudden there's a flash, and the smell of the coffee brings you back to when he brought you he would bring me coffee in the morning, pecan decaf pecan roast, and the coffee would trigger that, and then the thought would be there, and it kind of all went together, and before you know it, it was like a flashback, like from being in war. And suddenly I'm transported to that time where that coffee was there, and it's the morning, and he's walking in, and he's dressed for school. He was a teacher too, and he's already dressed, and and ready for school, and he sets that coffee down, and it's like that whole thing, I'm reliving it, and it's real, and it's right there, and I'm in it, and that's part of PTSD. You can't control it. There doesn't even have to be a trigger. You could just be reading something, or like just going to the mailbox to get your mail, and nothing is triggering you, but all of a sudden there's just images, random images. Oh, there we are going to eat at this place, and oh, there we are, and we're in Canada and staying at that Airbnb, and oh, there we are, and we're suddenly, whatever, digging around in the garden or something, and it's just random and little snippets of pictures and reels, movies that play in your head. Sometimes I can smell him. I can feel his hand on my back, and the warmth of his hand on my back. I can feel it, smell it, and it's not like I'm trying to. It's like it just comes out of nowhere. I thought in the beginning, what if he's like some kind of wizard or something? He always said he was. He always said, oh, I can move energy and align chakras and do all this stuff. What if he really can do that, and he's like putting the hoodoo voodoo on me from like, he's like 1,500 miles away from me. I'm in Texas, he's in California now. I mean, really, could that be long distance, lack of better words, long distance mind fuckery? Yeah, you know about the mind fuckery. I don't know, but probably not. It's probably just PTSD, because you get flashbacks and you get ruminations and intrusive thoughts, and you can't control them. And let me tell you what, after 20 months, the panic attacks definitely improved. Anxiety, there's some days when it is heavy upon me, but I manage. The sleep thing, nope, still can't sleep. It's like probably 2:30 in the morning now, wide awake. So some things are getting better, but the intrusive thoughts are not getting better. They're getting worse, if anything. And I don't know what that is, because I'm not doing anything to make myself want to think about him, because he's somebody else now. My husband, he's gone. He's like, for all practical purposes, he's dead. He was always dead on the inside, and now he's like really dead, like dead as a doornail. And I tell myself that all the time. I am a widow, and my husband is dead, because there's just a huge amount of truth to that. So, there's a lot of triggers for PTSD. There's even complex PTSD, because I have layers and layers and decades of trauma and stuff that happened to me. I'm that lucky girl. It wasn't just this one. This was the worst. Probably worse than my mother, because I trusted him, sort of. Yeah. I never trusted her. And the ones that came before, it's just, for whatever reason, I know what it was. They may have been dysregulated for other reasons and sort of nutty in their own way, but this was the first time that I had been, involved with a narcissistic sociopath, and it's soul rape. It's soul rape. That's what it is. It's soul rape. Oh, God. Okay, so and I just don't want to go on and on about the symptoms, because I want to tell you a couple of things I'm doing for help. And then I'm going to go and try to get sleepy and close my eyes, so that my students aren't scared by how sleepy I am in the morning. Sometimes it's like, oh my God. Okay, so I did a lot of therapy to begin with. I had 2 different counselors, both that were supposed to specialize in trauma and PTSD. And warning here, just because they say they do doesn't mean they understand. If you think you have been in a relationship with a person that has cluster B personality disorder, that specific type of dynamic creates things that are specific to that dynamic. And the withdrawal and what you go through in the aftermath of that is a very niche area that's very narrow and specific, and you must find someone who knows what that is, who understands all of the stuff about narcissists and sociopaths and psychopaths, the dark triad. They get it, they know it, they've treated it before, and maybe they've even gone through it. Ideally, well, you wouldn't want to wish this on anyone, but the best counselor is probably the one who's experienced it, because man, once you've been through it, you know exactly what it feels like, and you know what works and what doesn't work, right? I think that that's right. At least that's how it works for me. So don't get stuck with some counselor that you just like them, or you've been to them before, or they're at your church or something, and they have no idea what narcissistic abuse is. They have no idea what trauma bonding and intermittent reinforcement and addiction within the confines of a relationship like this look like. They don't know that stuff. They have to know that stuff, or they're not going to be able to help you. Okay? That's probably the most important thing I'm going to say tonight. Anyway, I tried everything from acupuncture to pranic healing, cord cutting, all this metaphysical energy work. I went to church, I prayed, I spent a lot of time talking to God and talking to Jesus, and getting, I'm a religious person, and I do believe in the power of prayer, and I believe in the power of God to heal people and to help people. And so he has walked this walk with me. I'm closer to God now than I have ever been in my life because of this experience. And many people say, oh, you should be grateful. It's a blessing that someone so sick is gone. And now you've had an opportunity to learn from that and grow closer to God and work on your inner self and your inner child and yada, yada, yada. And yes, that's all true. But sometimes that doesn't get you through the day. So you have to have different things. So here's some of my little secrets. I did not want to take drugs on a daily basis. I'm talking not about like meth or some of those hallucinogenic cactuses or something. I'm talking about not that kind. I'm talking about prescription drugs. I didn't want to do that because they carry side effects and have sort of their own problems too. So I wanted to kind of do it by myself. Without prescriptions, but I did have to get some benzodiazepam Klonopin when the panic attacks were like in their absolute worst. I microdosed, which means I took like a half of one or a fourth of one every couple of hours. That kept me on my feet. It kept me in front of my students in my classroom. I might have been a little fuzzy-headed, like, oh my gosh, I can't remember what I'm saying, what I'm talking about. What's that word? Oh my gosh, polysyndeton? Is that where we're gonna go? Yeah, I teach dual credit, sort of like that, with big words. And I couldn't remember the big words because my brain was all numb, but I had to be numb or I would be like gasping for breath and having a heart attack in front of them. So you have to kind of weigh what works, and microdosing the anti-anxiety things like benzos really helped me. And they suggested SRI blockers. That's a decision that everybody's going to have to make on their own. I don't know, can't help you there. But I tried like all these different techniques. Of course, cognitive behavioral therapy works, dialectical conversations with your therapy, talking, like that. Lots of different things, even like sacral cranial massage. Look that one up. Sacral cranial massage, hypnosis. Yeah, I've tried it all. So what I'm trying now, something new, and it's EMDR. And I've heard so many people talk about it. I just thought, I don't know. That kind of sounds weird, but I'm at the point now, because of the intrusive thoughts and the flashbacks and the ruminations and all of that, I'm ready to do it because it's been 20 months. And so you get to a point where you don't resist anything. You're going to try everything, just like you're at a big buffet and you're going through it. You're picking up all the stuff that you don't even know what it is, and you're trying it. And, you could be surprised. You might really like it. It becomes your favorite thing, right? So my therapist is sending me a tennis ball filled with shotgun pellets. I guess that's what it is. They're like little heavy metal shotgun pellets. And so it makes the tennis ball really heavy. This is what I have to work with in the meantime. It is a pair of socks. You could put a rock in a sock, but I hear that that's a completely different thing. And then you start having fantasies about, What could I do with a rock and a sock? Well, that's why he moved to San Francisco. Okay, so I'm just being funny here. I'm not being serious. I'm never advocating violence. It's okay, I guess, to think about it, but to actually execute it is not a good thing for your soul. I don't think God would like that. So I have a sock, and I put a rock in my sock. And what you do with what I'm starting to do with this is I'm tossing it up and catching it from hand to hand, from hand to hand, and I'm doing things with where I'm looking. Sometimes I even do this with my eyes closed. And then we're going to work with like tracking exercises with the eyes. It's rapid eye desensitization or something. I can't even say the word, but I'm excited. I'm hoping that I see progress like I have seen with my anxiety and my panic attacks, especially the panic attacks. You know, they are nothing like they used to be, because they were like totally incapacitating, crippling. I'm curled in a fetal position, you know, hoping that I'm just going to die. That kind of panic attack, I don't have anymore. And so, see, I know that there's like hope for the future. And you just have to, here's my message for today. I know I always say that at the end, and it needs to be the end right now. There are so many different treatments for PTSD and trauma, and for people coming out of narcissistic and cluster B abuse. You need to explore them, look them up, study them, do your due diligence, and try them all until you find one that works for you. Because, oh my gosh, this stuff kicks your ass. And unless you find the right tools to help yourself, you might not be okay. I have a lot of people who write me letters and comments and emails. Letters. I don't mean letters. I don't mean in my mailbox letters, but like a letter, only an email or a comment on my video vlog like this, or a comment on my podcast, or they give comments to me on Facebook when they read my articles, or on Medium, or whatever. You know, I'm doing all kinds of stuff, the articles and the podcast. And this is not all I do. You should read my podcast. I don't know. Wow. Okay, I'm having cognitive dissonance because it's probably almost 3 o'clock in the morning. You can't read my podcast. You can listen to my podcasts. They're on Spotify. They're on iTunes. Yes, I got on iTunes after they saw how many people. I've had over 30,000 people reading my, listening to my podcast. I can't talk. Help me. Oh my God. Yeah, okay, so over 30,000 people. So, okay, so what I was saying is there's a lot of people who write me, and they somehow, not a letter, I didn't mean a letter. Who writes a letter? Hopefully you do. It's really fun, especially with the little wax stamp and whatever. We need to support our postal service. They send me the message that they have been post-discard in recovery from cluster B abuse for 2 years. 3 years, 4, 5, yeah. I've had people say 10 years. I've had people say, yeah, get ready for this. 15 years. They have been 15 years post-discard, and they're still not okay. And I always wonder, is that going to be me? Because I'm old. I'm so old that if it takes me 15 years to recover from this, I'll probably die from old age first, or from COVID, or from something is going to kill me before I ever can get recovered. And that terrifies me. And we all know you attract what you fear. So you got to stop being afraid. You got to be brave. And so, yeah, just think about that. Do you want to be stuck and suffering? No, you want to get up and get on and do whatever it takes to get past this thing. So, rocking the sock, that's where I am right now, and I'm working on it. I'm going to do my rocking a sock right now to try to get myself calm and ready to sleep. So, anyway, Much love to you guys. Please keep fighting, keep trying, and we're going to get over this sooner than later. Bye.